I know not everyone on this channel is a comic book reader, but indulge me for a moment. Because sometimes giving a third person perspective helps to get across what the individual wants. I mean, ultimately, we can never necessarily say, in order to hit the point, if I say it's a nice day, what does that quite mean, nice? And what does it mean from the standpoint of me versus what you define as nice? You always have to give an example. Examples work better. Superman versus Batman. Superman v. Batman. Batman knew of Superman's main weakness, morality. In every contest that Superman has ever fought Batman, the only reason that Batman lived is because Superman didn't kill Batman or didn't want to kill Batman. And Batman knew that Superman, all things being equal, would risk his own life in order to ensure that he doesn't go over the line and kill Batman. That is the only reason Batman existed today, meaning that's the only reason he lived. This is something similar to Sanders and Warren, right? I'm not necessarily saying that Sanders can lift a car. I am saying, though, that Warren has found a defect in Sanders in the way that he operates. And in many respects, I think this is one of Sanders' strengths, but in this very particular context, it becomes a weakness. Sanders never goes after or exposes Warren from her left. Elizabeth Warren has taken a political strategy to ape Sanders. She's aped him, pretty much all of his policies, just being a cuddlier, cuter version of Sanders. I'm a capitalist to my bones, that guy's a socialist. However, I will give you his policies or up to the line of his policies. However, I am not going to challenge the established order of things. She's a woman, she's younger, and she's just like him. And from the standpoint of a public that is not entirely engaged in politics, it makes it look as if these two things are a one-to-one. These two things are not a one-to-one. But again, the guy who could say that never says that. When Bill Gates made his point about the wealth tax, Warren responds, I'm always happy to meet with people, even if they have different views. Bill Gates, if we get a chance, I'd love to explain exactly how much you pay under my wealth tax. I promise it's not 100 billion. Sanders responds, say Bill Gates was actually taxed 100 billion. We could end homelessness and provide safe drinking water to everyone in this country. Bill would still be multi-billionaire. Our message to billionaire class cannot have it all. So when so many have so little. Notice the difference between these two. One wants to sit down and talk. The other one says, even if we did take 100 billion from you. Do you know when I did my video the other day, billionaires shouldn't exist? I didn't even see that. But at the very least, we have the same idea of even if you did get taxed $100 billion, you'd still be a multi-billionaire. Are you telling me you can't live with $15 billion? Warren wants to talk. Technocrat. Give me this guy. These are not the same quantities. Not at all. The sad part is, if Bernie Sanders had never said anything, meaning if Warren had never deviated from Medicare for All, that opening would not exist. And Sanders would have never said anything about it, and they would have still gone through this contest with a race of people looking at these two like, she has a vagina, she's younger. Close enough. She may not be him, but close enough. I am making the point that they are not close enough. And that Sanders, what I suspect are more reasons, never says anything about it. That's a flaw. Don't misunderstand me. I think Sanders being earnest and honest and straightforward is a positive attribute. He has no issue at all, however, going after Joe Biden. Why not Warren? And fact is, this is a contest. You must accord yourself as if you were in a contest because you're in a contest. People are giving you millions of dollars. You got $250 million in that last race. In this race, I suspect that if you stayed in long enough, you would get the same. One catch. Warren has gotten closer and closer and closer, and in some points, at the very least before your heart attack, had overtaken you. One strategy: pretend to be Sanders. Right here. When Warren was asked about this, asked to name 3 differences between herself and Bernie Sanders, Warren said, nope. Nope. She acknowledged she's really avoided the question. I don't want to try to characterize somebody else. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about why I'm running. But that's not characterizing anyone else. They just asked you, what is the basic difference between you and Sanders? Is there a difference? She's like, I'm not touching that question at all. You're trying to get me to get out of my political strategy. I'm not going to do that. Fact is, the other neocons on that stage, the other right-wing Democrats on that stage, can only hit her from the right because of the political casting that she took. She has evolved on the issue of healthcare just in the time of the presidency. Does she actually believe in Medicare for all? She didn't even have a healthcare plan. She was just going along with the Medicare for all stuff until the deviation happened where she got stuck because she didn't want to say, yes, I would have a middle class tax increase. Missing the point that everywhere else around the world does that. People contribute to their own healthcare. She didn't want to say it. And so she puts out a healthcare plan. And that healthcare plan, hurried and rushed out, has defects in the healthcare plan. It is a showpiece that has no potential for being passed. And one of the people, the economist that was backing her, has come out saying, yeah, the amount of money that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But you never did that. You never called her out on that. Even that nonsense thing of, I'm going to take money in the primary, or I'm not going to take money in the primary, but I'm going to take all the money in the world once I get into the general election. And even the dishonesty of padding her own campaign with $10 million. Biden mentions it every time Biden opens his mouth. You don't. You were the only one that is fully grassroots funded, and yet you never say it. I hope you understand what I'm saying. These are losses. Ned Stark got his head chopped off. All the morality in the world doesn't factor into a game space where your objective is to win. Meaning, your ideology is a poor substitute for reality. And in an environment that is changed, meaning changed in the sense that somebody is taking a political strategy that entirely depends upon you not saying anything to contest what that person is saying, you're at a loss for that. Not saying you lose the primary. I'm just saying you're in a contest where the objective of that contest is to pile up wins in order to ultimately win. Warren got into a contest saying she was grassroots funded. She was not. You never said anything. Even when she was in the race to say, I'm going to take money in the general but not in the primary, you never asked the basic question of why. That doesn't really make sense. You can also take money in the primary if you're going to take it in the general. Why are you doing that? But then she gets to the point of eliminating that avenue of attack by essentially appropriating your position on that also. This is a contest. This is a contest. At one point I asked, does Bernie Sanders even really want to win this contest? Is he content with somebody like Elizabeth Warren because he may be tired and he doesn't necessarily want to go the long distance? In 2016, Bernie Sanders didn't get in the race to win it. He had asked Elizabeth Warren to run in 2016. She declined. And then in 2020, she gets in a race and hits him in the knees. It's a contest. Do you honestly believe that your objectives and your agenda is going to be forwarded by Elizabeth Warren? You may think she hates bankers, fair enough, but I'm talking about everything else. Do you actually believe that she believes it? And do you believe she can harness the public will in a way that you can harness the public will? Do you even believe she could beat Trump? And do you think you would stand a better chance against Trump as opposed to her? And if so, are you not doing a disservice by not piling up wins when you have the opportunity to get wins? I'm not saying being mean. I'm not saying being nasty. I am saying you are in a contest and you have a responsibility to the people who are donating money to you, who are supporting you, who are going to those stadiums. They watch you and they agonize over her aping you because they get it. This statement right here. Can you name 3 differences between yourself and Sanders? Nope. Not at all. Not in the least. I can't find one difference between Sanders and I. Not at all. There's no point in even asking me that because I'm not even going to answer the question. Not at all. Hey, why didn't you go to Standing Rock? Hey, why didn't you support Sanders in 2016? Hey, why did you support Trump's military budget? Hey, why do you take that particular policy on Israel where you're willing to give them weapons even when they were murdering Palestinians? There are differences. Will she ever tell you? Hell no. That is not within her political strategy. You cannot fault her for that. You cannot fault her for that. I know it sounds like I'm saying 2 things at once. I'm not. My perspective is of a person who's supporting Sanders. If you are supporting Warren, the same rules apply. She is in a contest, and she's doing what she needs to do to win that contest. And like Batman fighting Superman, Batman knows that Superman is not going to kill him. She can take this particular political disposition for as long as Sanders allows her to. She's not wrong for it. It just aches me as a Sanders supporter to watch Sanders allow her to persist in this way. Not saying being mean, not saying being nasty, none of that stuff. But to create distinction, yes. And even with the Medicare plan, Sanders didn't go after her and telling her it was unworkable. He was gentle in the distinction that was being made. It is true that people on the debate stage are going to be hitting her from the right. It is true that at this point, this has become a policy discussion between Sanders and her, with her saying we're not going to increase middle class tax for healthcare, and Sanders making the point that you're hiding the ball and our plan is just better and more efficient. That's a policy discussion from the standpoint of Sanders, but that still, to some degree, hits, even though it's gentle. Warren's made a mistake by deviating from Sanders. If she was going to ride this boat, she should have rode that boat to the end, essentially saying, I'm with Sanders on Medicare for all through and through. Are you going to increase taxes on the middle class? Under Medicare for all systems, taxes on the middle class will go up, but the thing that matters is savings. You will get a substantial income increase based on this plan. She could argue that within the context and a framework of a world that is Medicare for all, whether she believes in Medicare for all or not. I hope you understand my point. She should have rode that till the boat went down. The catch here is she didn't fully believe it. She probably doesn't even know all of the details of it from the standpoint of supporting it because that's not her plan. She got stuck on this notion of, I don't want to admit that middle class taxes will go up. I don't want to get caught saying that. And so I just want to focus on savings. Where Sanders just says, yes, clearly, but the issue is savings. You will bring home far more cash under my Medicare for All plan with a moderate increase in your taxes that would essentially have you money many times over for the 95% of the population. And yes, we're going to pay for it, and here are ways of paying for it. Should have rode that boat to the end, Warren. Joe Biden, what he's going to hit you on is you're being dishonest. Amy Klobuchar, what she's going to hit you on is you're being dishonest. And what they're going to use is Sanders as a club to do it. But that's them. Sanders also should join in this particular chorus and say, yes, you got to be honest with the American public and you got to tell them what it is. I know it sounds bad. Elizabeth Warren may be your friend. By the same token, she is aping you. And I got to be honest, you have to have a real heart-to-heart with yourself on A, whether you want to win it, B, whether you think she's going to beat Trump, or C, whether you think you're better in regards to the general election, in regards to beating Trump. And yes, you should join in that chorus of you're being dishonest. A middle-class tax cut is required in order to pay for Medicare for all. The rest of the world does it this way. How you feel doesn't matter. The goal is to win. And you're being given a lot of money to do so. She's aping you. And I would ask, do you believe that she can carry it home? And your responsibility, I want to be very clear with this. The responsibility of the candidate is to win. And you must take these opportunities to do so. And you have flagrantly let these opportunities fall to the wayside. And again, not in a spiteful, mean-spirited way. You can put it in the way that you typically put it. I'm just making the point that you haven't been putting it at all. It's aggravating. That's all. The next debate, Warren will get attacked from the right. She will get attacked as being dishonest. I would guarantee you that that's going to be the attack. Joe Biden has already started to attack her that way before she put out this unworkable plan. Now it will get worse, and they will pick the plan apart. And they would say one of the guys, or the economist that was backing you at one point, no longer backs you on this plan. They will go after her. The question becomes, what does Sanders do? I suspect Sanders is going to engage in a policy discussion. Sanders, you're in a contest, sir. Behave accordingly. Let's see. I saw a super chat, I thought. I watch him and I see that quote by Warren, and it makes it so acutely clear that that's her strategy. My strategy is to ape Sanders. And Sanders goes along with it. And that strategy only works. It only works if he allows it to. And he allows it to. Is it a vote for Sanders, a vote for Warren? No, Marcus will. That's not funny, man. That's not funny, dog. That's not funny, Marcus. That's not funny, Marcus. Look, I think Sanders will win, providing he wins it in the first round. If it goes to the second round, it becomes dicier. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks so.